Hi, my name is Tina Foote, and I am the analyst for the OEAA Secure site. I will be highlighting some of the functions that you will need to do on the OEA Secure site for the SAT, WorkKeys, MSTEP, and PSAT for spring 2019. The OEA Secure site is located at www.michigan.gov/OEAA-secure. The site can be accessed with your MSDS login and password. If you do not already have access to the secure site, you can still log in with your MSDS login and password and complete the request access page. This will send your request to the district administrator level user of the site for your district to approve. For full instructions on how to get access to the OEAA secure site, you can go to www.michigan.gov/secure site training and click on the How Do I Get Access to Secure Site link. On the Test Center participation page of the secure site, schools can verify their school is identified as participating in the ACT WorkKeys, SAT, and PSAT 8/9 for both grades 8 and 9 and PSAT 10. You can also locate the College Board AI code and ACT's high school codes if needed. The deadline to complete the participation process for both ACT and College Board is November 30th. The Test Center participation page will be updated daily as ACT and College Board continue to work through their processes. The Test Center participation page is used in no way to complete the participation process with ACT and College Board. It is only used to verify the status of a school. To find the Test Center participation page, click on Test Center Participation from the Assessment Registration menu. You will select the current academic year, your ISD, district, and school. If you are a district level user of the secure site, you will not be required to select a school. If you wish to filter your search to a specific assessment, you can select ACT WorkKeys, SAT, PSAT 8/9 for 8, PSAT 8/9 for 9, or PSAT 10. You can select more than one of the assessments listed at a time. Once you have made your selections, click the search button at the bottom right. The search results will list the schools based on the search criteria that you selected. You will notice that there is a separate column for each of the assessments, including a separate one for each of the grade levels for the PSAT. Schools only need to submit an intent to participate for the SAT, PSAT 8/9, PSAT 10, and ACT WorkKeys. It is not needed for any of the other state assessments. Another page on the OEAA secure site that users may find helpful is the district and school contact page. Contact types such as MSTEP coordinator, PSAT 8 test coordinator, and so on can be viewed on the district and school contacts page. The contacts types are updated in the Educational Entity Master by the authorized district EEM user. If you find that the district and school contact information for your school district is incorrect, you can look up your authorized EEM user from the district and school contact page and ask them to update the EEM. Another great contact that is listed is the authorized MSDS user. MSDS is the Michigan Student Data System that districts submit the student count day data in, and OEAA uses that data for pre-identification of students, student demographics, and enrollment for accountability. We'll talk more about how OEAA uses MSDS data throughout this presentation. The secure site updates from the EEM nightly, so any updates to the contact information in the EEM that are made by the authorized district EEM user will be reflected on the district and school contact page the following day. New this year, users can also look up assessment contacts for any other district and school in Michigan on the district and school contact page. This can be helpful if you have a student that transfers in during the assessment. You can find the assessment coordinator for the previous school on the district and school contact page, along with their email and phone number, and contact them directly to find out which state assessments the student has already taken. To find the district and school contacts page, once logged into the secure site, select District and School Contacts from the Assessment Registration menu. You will need to select the ISD, District, and School if you would like to bring up one school. Remember, you can now search for any district or school contact information in Michigan. If you wish, you can select a contact type from the drop-down to filter your search. You can only select one contact type at a time. If you do not select a contact type, the search will return with all contact types. In this example, you can select the EEM authorized user to bring back only the EEM authorized user name and contact information. Once you have made your selections, click the search button from the bottom right. The search results will be based on the selections that you made in the previous screen. From this page, you have the ability to download or print the information if needed. The contact name, phone number, and email will be filled in based on the information in the Educational Entity Master. All schools that will be taking the SAT, WorkKeys, PSAT, and M-STEP will need to be pre-identified to the appropriate tests on the secure site. On January 3, 2019, OEAA will pre-ID the bulk of students for each public school based on the fall MSDS General Collection, which is your student count day data, and student record maintenance files that have been submitted in MSDS by January 3rd. So if your district MSDS person submits student record maintenance files to update student enrollment on a regular basis, those students that enrolled after fall count day will be included in the pre-identification by OEAA. Users of the secure site will have access to the pre-ID student report at 8 a.m. on January 7th. Schools are responsible for pre-identifying any additional students directly on the secure site. Schools will receive printed barcode labels to be placed on the students' paper and pencil answer documents for all students pre-identified by 5 p.m. on February 13th. Barcode labels are required to be placed on each paper and pencil answer document. If a school is testing M-STEP online, there will be no barcode labels needed for those assessments, but the students still need to be pre-identified in the secure site. Schools will be expected to print any additional barcode labels for students taking a paper and pencil assessment that are pre-identified after February 13th. Just a reminder that barcode labels will be needed for all students taking the SAT, WorkKeys, and PSAT, as they are available in paper format only. Students that are taking the M-STEP online will need to be placed into an online session on the secure site by 5 p.m. on February 25th. This is the process in grouping students under a test administrator in order to print test tickets and manage online tests. Students will be transferred in their online session to eDirect on February 25th after 5 p.m., and schools will have access to eDirect on March 8th. Schools will need to continue to pre-identify students directly on the secure site through the end of testing. Students taking the online M-STEP will be transferred to eDirect 3 times a day after the initial transfer on February 25th. New students pre-identified after February 25th, once transferred into eDirect, schools will need to put the students into an online session in eDirect. The secure site will not be available to put students into online sessions after February 25th. If you do not wish to put students into an online session in the secure site, you can wait until after February 25th when the students are transferred and then put them into an online session in eDirect. This is at the school's discretion. There are 3 different ways for district and schools to pre-identify additional students on the secure site. One of those ways is to create a pre-ID file and upload it to the secure site. The pre-ID file must be in our required format, and you can find the pre-ID file layout at the bottom of the login page of the secure site before you log in. The pre-ID file must be a text or a CSV file. You may be able to recruit your district people accounting person to assist you with the creation of the file. The pre-ID file can be used to submit 1 or more students. At the bottom of the login page, there is also a pre-ID file template. This is an Excel file that is already formatted and set up that you can import or type your student information into. You must use the pre-ID file layout with the template in order to know the format that the data needs to be entered. Once you have your student data in the template, you will need to save it as a CSV file before uploading it to the secure site. If using the pre-ID file, you will need to create a different file for each test period. A test period can contain more than 1 test cycle based on the assessments that are included in accountability. For example, you can create one file for the SAT, My Access, PSAT 8, and MSTEP, which are all in the 2019 spring test period. All of those assessments are included in accountability and therefore are under one test period. This is just a partial screenshot of the pre-ID file layout. As you notice, it will give you the column, the field name, the length of the field, and the data requirements. Notice the ethnicity is a number for this file. The pre-ID file layout document is larger than this, but the fields that are highlighted, which is basic student information, is all that is required to be in the file. Each field is required to be a part of the file, but you are only required to populate the student data in the highlighted fields. The pre-ID template opens in Excel, but don't forget, as I mentioned earlier, it must be saved as a CSV file once you have entered your student data. The fields that are bold are the required fields that must be completed. As you can see, it is basic student information. Don't forget, you have to use the pre-ID file layout document to know how each field should be entered. For example, the student ethnicity is a numeric field. I have been told that some school secretaries will leave the template on their desktop and enter new student information into it as students enroll. Then a few days before the barcode label deadline, they will upload the file to the secure site. After the barcode label deadline, they will continue to enter new students and then upload the file a few days before testing to print barcode labels and for MSTEP students to be transferred to eDirect, the online management system. Once you have created a file in the required format or have completed the template, you will need to upload it to the secure site. Under the Assessment Registration menu, hover over Pre-ID, then click on Pre-ID Students. From the Pre-ID method box, select File Upload. You will need to select the test period. Refer to slide 13 if you forget which assessments are included in a test period. You will need to select your ISD and district and the files that you are uploading. Click the Upload button at the bottom right when you are ready to submit your file. After you have submitted your pre-ID file, you will want to verify that the file uploaded and that there were no errors. To do this, go to the Assessment Registration menu, hover over Pre-ID, and click on Pre-ID File Upload Results. You will need to select the test period, ISD, and district, and then click the Search button at the bottom right. A list of the files that have been submitted will display, along with the status of the file and details. The file may take a few minutes to load depending on how many files were uploaded ahead of your file. The screen will refresh to update every few seconds. If it indicates that the file has errors, you can click on the View Errors link and it will give you a list of the errors. From the Errors page, you can download the file that contains only the records with the errors, fix the errors, and reload that file. If the file has more than 50 errors, no records from the file will be loaded to the secure site. Another method to pre-identify students on the secure site is to enter them one student at a time through the student search. It may not be feasible to enter in many students, but it does take only about 2 minutes per student if you have the information. From the Student Assessments menu, click on Student Search. I suggest that you search by UIC number, or if that is not available, you can search by student information. When searching by student information, you can enter a partial or full last name and first name if needed to find the student. Click the Search button at the bottom right. Do not select the ISD, district, or school, or the system will only look for records already assigned to your school. Find the student from the list under the search results and click on the student's name. This will take you to the student summary page that will give you some basic information on the student. Use this information to verify that this is the student that you were looking for. It's amazing how many students in the state of Michigan have the same name and same date of birth or are very similar. If this is the correct student, click on the Add Test Cycle button. This will take you to the student's demographic page for the assessment, and you will need to select the test cycle, ISD, district, school, and grade level for the student. Public schools cannot select any of the student information or demographics such as English learner, special education, economically disadvantaged, and so on. Student demographics will be populated overnight from MSDS. If the student is a homeschooled student, make sure to click HS to identify the student as a homeschool student. That's it, and then click on the Save button at the bottom right. A new section at the bottom of the page called Contact Areas Selected will open after you have saved the record. Since the SAT, WorkKeys, and PSAT are only available on paper, the content areas for those assessments will be marked as paper and pencil. However, if you are assigning the M-STEP assessment and the student will be taking the paper pencil test instead of online, you may need to select paper and pencil for the content areas to ensure that the appropriate materials are ordered for the student. If you do make any changes to this section, don't forget to click on the Save button at the bottom right. The final way to pre-identify students is the MSDS Copy function on the OEA Secure site. It's important to note that the data will be from the Fall MSDS General Collection, which is the Fall Student Count Day. This is the same data that OEAA used to pre-ID students for schools. MSDS Copy is only beneficial if a district submits enrollment information in MSDS for students through the student record maintenance files on a regular basis. If this is the case, then you can easily copy those new students into the secure site for pre-identification. You may want to check with your district MSDS person to determine how often they submit new student enrollment information. MSDS Copy is not available for non-public schools. To access MSDS Copy, go to the Assessment Registration menu. Hover over the Pre-ID and then click on Pre-ID Students. In the Pre-ID method box, select MSDS Copy. Select the ISD, district, school, and grade. This would be based on the student data that was last submitted in MSDS. Click the Search button at the bottom right. Filtering students by special education or English learner may not be beneficial for the pre-identification to SAT, WorkKeys, PSAT, and M-STEP, but can be for My Access and WeDa Access. Your search results will include students that are showing as enrolled in MSDS in the school and grade level that you selected. Just above the student listing, a new section called Select Destination Information opens up. From this section, you will need to select the destination test cycle and the destination grade. The destination grade should be the same grade that you searched for the student, since we are using the 2018-19 school year data from MSDS. You can go through and select the students from the list that you wish to copy into the secure site for pre-identification. Once you have all of your students selected, click the Submit button at the bottom right. This will create a pre-ID file of the students selected and upload them into the secure site. You will want to verify that the file upload correctly uploaded without errors. You can verify the file on the pre-ID file upload results that we went through on slide 17. When pre-identifying students to the MME, it is important to remember that you must pre-identify them to all three components of the MME. So that would be the SAT, WorkKeys, and M-STEP. This will ensure that you get the correct barcodes, test materials, and students taking the M-STEP online are transferred into eDirect. For grade 8, students must be pre-identified to the PSAT 8 and M-STEP. There is a way to copy students from one test cycle to another test cycle. So for example, if you pre-identify your new students to the SAT, you can then go to the Mass Update Assessments page and as a group copy them into WorkKeys and then into M-STEP. For grade 8 students, you can pre-ID them to PSAT 8 and then copy them into the M-STEP. Of course, you can just pre-ID the students to all of the appropriate assessments separately through the pre-ID file upload, student search, or MSDS copy. If you choose to use the Mass Update Assessments page, you can find it under the Student Assessments menu and click on Mass Update Assessments. In the test cycle field, you will need to select the test cycle that the students are already pre-identified in. Select the ISD, district, and school. You can filter by grade also to bring back a smaller list of students. Click on the Search button to the bottom right. In the search result sections that open, you will select Copy to Different Test Cycle from the Mass Update Type dropdown. From the Copy to Test Cycle dropdown, you will select the test cycle that you wish to copy the students to. This will allow you to copy students from one test cycle to another. Don't worry, it doesn't remove them from the original test cycle, it just copies them. You will need to select the student records that you wish to copy and click the Save button at the bottom right. Once students are pre-identified either by OEAA or by the school, they will appear on the Pre-ID student report. You will want to use this report to ensure that all students are pre-identified to the appropriate assessments. You can download the Pre-ID student reports into an Excel spreadsheet and delete columns or add columns to help with organizing the assessment. I have heard of some schools that use it to check off the return of paper and pencil materials to make sure that every answer document's returned. Others will use it as attendance sheets for students to sign in and for creating a test schedule. To access the Pre-ID student report, you will go to the Assessment Registration menu, hover over Pre-ID, and then click on Pre-ID student report. From the search screen, you will select the test period or test cycle, ISD, district, and school. If you are a district user, you are not required to select the school and can bring up a district list. Don't forget, a test period includes multiple test cycles. So if you select Spring 2019 from the test period dropdown, it will bring up a combined list of students assigned to take the SAT, MSTEP, PSAT 8, and My Access. If you review the report this way, don't forget you will still need to access the 2019 WorkKeys and 2019 PSAT for the PSAT 9 and 10 also. You can also filter your report by online or paper and pencil testing. This would only apply to MSTEP and My Access since the other assessments we are talking about are paper and pencil only. Once you have made your selections, click on the search button at the bottom right. The list of students will be based on the selections from the search criteria. The Pre-ID report will display student information along with each content area or assessment the student is assigned to based on the test period or test cycle that was selected. When reviewing the report, if you see a student that will not be testing in the assessment that was searched, select the student and click on the Unassigned button at the bottom right. This will unassign the student from the test and they will fall off of the Pre-ID report. It's important to know that unassigning a student does not remove the student from accountability. Unassigning a student only means that they will not be testing. If a student moves, they should be exited in MSDS to remove them from accountability calculations. All paper and pencil answer documents must have a barcode label on it for scoring. Answer documents without a barcode label may not be scored or could be associated with the incorrect student or school. As mentioned earlier, barcode labels will be printed and shipped to schools for students that are pre-identified on the secure site by 5 p.m. on February 13th. Schools will need to print barcode labels from the secure site for students that are pre-ID'd after February 13th. Students that did not receive a barcode label from the contractor, and barcode labels that may have been damaged. It is important to note that there's a different barcode label for each assessment. This means that students taking the MME will have a unique barcode label for the SAT, a unique barcode label for the WorkKeys, and a unique barcode label for the MSTEP Science and Social Studies. The assessment name will be printed on the barcode label to help ensure that the correct one gets on the correct answer document. To print barcode labels, from the Assessment Registration menu, click on Barcode Labels. You will need to select the test cycle, ISD, district, and school. You can use the additional filters if you feel it would be beneficial in your search. The Pre-ID after date is a great feature. This will allow you to bring up all students that were pre-identified after the February 13th deadline. Once you have made your selections, click on the search button at the bottom right. A list of students will come up that match your selection. You can select all or select some of the students from the list. You can select the starting position for the labels. So for example, if you have already used the sheet of labels, you can start on position 2 or 3 in order to save on labels. You can select the number of copies that you would like printed. When printing labels for MSTEP, you can select 2 to ensure that you get a label for the science and the social studies answer document. Once you have made your selections, ensure you have the correct labels in the printer. You should be using an Avery 5161 or 5961, which is a 1x4 label with 2 columns and 20 to a page. When you are ready, click on the Print Barcodes button at the bottom right. A box will pop up with barcode printing instructions to ensure that your barcodes print correctly on the labels. After you have read the instructions, click OK. Adobe will open with the barcode labels. If it does not open, please make sure that you have pop-up blockers disabled for the site. In the Adobe document, click the printer icon and then follow the instructions that came up in the previous pop-up. If the instructions are followed and the correct labels are used, you should have no problems with printing the barcode labels. Now that we have pre-identified our students, let's talk about how the testing materials will be ordered. For SAT and PSAT 8/9 and PSAT 10, the standard materials will be based on the number of students that are pre-identified on the secure site by 5 p.m. on February 13th. Accommodated materials will be sent based on the submissions in the College Board SSD system. You can view the number of standard materials that will be ordered for the school from the initial material order page of the secure site. The initial material order page will show the full number of students pre-ID'd. You cannot see the accommodated materials on the secure site, but only in the SSD system. College Board will subtract the number of accommodated orders from the standard material order once they have received the order after February 13th. It is important to ensure that every student that is enrolled on February 13th has been pre-identified to ensure that you get the right amount of testing materials for the initial day of testing. We know that there is an influx of students, so there will be an opportunity to order additional materials from the additional material order page of the secure site March 20th through March 28th. These are additional materials for the initial day of testing, not for makeup testing. Makeup materials for the SAT will be ordered directly from College Board April 9th through April 11th. SAT test coordinators listed in the EEM will receive an email with instructions just prior to the order date. This is a short window and materials cannot be ordered after April 11th for the makeup testing, so you might want to mark it on your calendar. You do not need to order makeup materials for the PSAT 8 and 9 and 10. You will use the initial testing day materials to do any makeup testing. The standard materials for WorkKeys will be based on the number of students pre-identified on the secure site. You do not have to submit requests for approval to ACT for accommodated versions. If you need accommodated versions based on a student's IEP, then you can key in that order directly on the initial material order page of the secure site. The number of accommodated materials that you order will reduce your standard order by that amount. It's important to have all of your students pre-identified by 5 p.m. on February 13th to ensure that you have the correct amount of materials for testing. You can view the initial material order that includes both standard and accommodated tests on the initial material order page of the secure site. If needed, you can order additional standard accommodated materials from the additional material order page of the secure site March 20th through March 28th. Makeup tests for WorkKeys will also be ordered from the additional material order page of the secure site on April 9th to April 11th. No orders can be made placed after April 11th, so you might want to mark it on your calendar. The M-STEP initial material will be based on the students that are pre-identified by 5 p.m. on February 13th and that are marked as paper and pencil testing. Remember on slide 21, I showed you how to mark an M-STEP student as taking the paper and pencil test rather than online. You can order accommodated versions of the test from the initial material order page on the secure site. Please note that if you are ordering Braille or in large print, you will be required to select the student that will be using the Braille or in large print at that time. The standard material order will continue to be updated based on pre-ID of students. However, if you enter an order for an accommodated test and save it, that will save the full order and the standard materials will not continue to update based on your pre-ID. If you need more standard materials after the order is saved, you can go in and adjust the standard material order manually and save it up until 5 p.m. on February 13th. If you need additional materials after the initial order deadline, you will have an opportunity to order additional standard and accommodated tests from the additional material order page of the secure site April 2nd through April 23rd. There are no separate tests for the makeup testing. To access the initial and additional material order page on the secure site, go to the Assessment Registration menu, hover over Material Orders, and click on either Initial Material Orders or Additional Material Orders. Select the test cycle, ISD, district, and school from the drop-downs. If you are a district level user, you are not required to select a school. Click the search button at the bottom right of the search criteria section. The list of schools will come up based on your search. To view or create an order, click on the Create Order button or link. If it is a saved order or you have view-only access, the link will say View Order. Even though material orders are based on the number of students pre-identified, you should still always check the initial material order for accuracy and to verify the shipping address. For SAT, PSAT, and WorkKeys, tests will always be shipped to the school. For M-STEP, a district-level user of the secure site can select that materials be sent to the schools or to the district. It is important to note that the selection for one school will apply to all schools. If you select district, then all initial test materials for M-STEP would be sent to the district office for all schools in the district. The selection will default to school just in case a selection is not made. For any of the assessments, if the test coordinator and address in the address field is incorrect, this should be corrected in the EEM by the authorized district EEM user by the February 13th deadline. If you don't know who that is, you can find their name and contact information on the district and school contact page of the secure site. Again, even though the standard materials are based on the pre-identification of students, I still advise you to verify this just to make sure you are getting the materials that you need. Just a reminder that you will need to enter orders for accommodated materials for WorkKeys and M-STEP on the initial material order page. If something unexpected happens during testing, in most cases you will want to submit an incident report on the secure site. The incident report function on the secure site is not used for ACT or College Board assessments. You will want to follow instructions in their manuals for reporting any incidents. For the M-STEP, you would want to submit an incident report to request a new test, whether it be paper and pencil or online, to report a student that will be resuming testing for paper and pencil, reporting test irregularities and misadministrations, or to have a test marked as a prohibited behavior. You can find more details about when an incident report should be submitted in the M-STEP Test Administration Manual. To access the incident report, go to the Student Assessments menu and click on Incident Reports. Before you can enter a new incident report, you must first perform a search. Select the test cycle, ISD, district, and school, and click the search button at the bottom right. If you are looking for an incident report that has already been completed for a student, you can include the student's name or UIC number in your search. The search results will bring up incident reports that have already been created for the test cycle that can be viewed. To create a new incident report, click on the Create Incident Report button at the bottom right. On this page, note that your information should be populated automatically as the requester. The phone number and email address is taken from your MEES account. You can enter an email address of another staff member you would like notified of the incident in the CC email field or leave it blank. The contact title, contact name, contact phone, and contact email should be populated with the district level assessment coordinator from the EEM that will also receive a notice of the incident report that is being filed. As you start to answer the questions on the incident report, additional questions or options will open or change and guide you through submitting your incident report. Please make sure to provide as much detail as you can so that we can get this resolved for you and the student as quickly as possible. You have the ability to attach a document to support your report if you feel it is needed or appropriate. I want to point out the Save and Submit buttons at the bottom right of the screen. If you click Save, this will save the incident report and allow you to go back into it and update additional information. This does not submit the report to OEAA. Once the report is complete, you will need to click Save and Submit. Once you click Save and Submit, you can no longer make changes to the incident report and it will be submitted to OEAA for review. What I consider one of the most important functions on the secure site is the accountable students and test verification. There are 3 functions to this process. In May, you will have the opportunity to verify enrollment from MSDS in the secure site for accountability purposes. In late May or June, schools will have the ability to verify the receipt of answer documents by the scoring contractor. This is for the online and paper and pencil tests. And in June, schools will have the opportunity to provide a reason a student did not test. The verification of accountable students enrolled in demographics will be a list of students from the Michigan Student Data System that we are showing as enrolled in the school and will be included in accountability calculations. This list will also include the student demographics that will be used for assessment and accountability reporting, such as special education, economically disadvantaged, and a few others. This list will be based on the fall and spring MSDS general collections, which are your count days, and student record maintenance files that have been submitted in MSDS. This will be the last opportunity to update MSDS for assessment and accountability reporting. You will need to work closely with your district MSDS person. Don't know who that is? Look for their name and contact information on the district and school contact page of the secure site. The list of students will only include the grades used in accountability, so it will be for grades 3 through 8, 11, and some required grade 12. Grade 9 and 10 are not included in accountability, so you do not need to update MSDS for assessment and accountability purposes for those two grades. On the Answer Documents Received and Not Tested function, you will have the opportunity to verify that each and every test that was taken is accounted for both online and paper and pencil. This will be the only opportunity to report a missing test and appeal any incorrect M-STEP, prohibited behavior, or non-standard accommodation designations. The answer documents received will be available for SAT, PSAT for 8, 9, and 10, WorkKeys, and M-STEP. Schools will also be asked to submit reasons why a student did not test. This is needed for a possible accountability exemptions and also required for other federal reporting. This is only needed again for the grades that are included in accountability, so that would be grades 3 through 8, 11, and some required grade 12. Again, grade 9 and 10 are not included in accountability, so you will not need to submit a not tested reason why those students did not test. Even though it seems like a long way off, there are things that you can do ahead of time to ensure that the verification process are quick and easy, especially since it is at the end of the school year. Let your student pupil accounting person know that OEAA will be pulling student enrollment, exits, and demographics for accountability and assessment reporting in June. It's important to inform them that we will only be using student data with an as-of date on or before May 24th, 2019. The deadline to update MSDS data will be in June, but again, we will only use data with an as-of date on or before May 24th. OEAA will not use the MSDS end-of-year collection for student enrollment and demographics, so SRM files will need to be submitted to update student information. Watch for the June deadline and additional information about this in the Spotlight this spring. Districts do not have to wait to update MSDS until the OEAA review period. SRMs can be submitted after the spring MSDS general collection through the end of testing. This would ensure that the student data is updated for assessment and accountability reporting. Make sure to get a copy of the Best Practices MSDS Reporting Guide for Trouble-Free Accountability Data to your district MSDS user. It can be found at www.michigan.gov/secure-site-training. Ask teachers to keep track of students that did not test with the reason why they did not test and turn it into a centralized person. It will be needed when verifying answer documents received to know if a student did test or if they did not test and if their test may be missing. If they did not test, you'll need to know the reason and submit why the student did not test. Again, not tested reasons would not be needed for grades 9 and 10 because they are not currently included in accountability. You can find supporting documents for each of the functions mentioned at www.michigan.gov/secure-site-training. You can also email mde-oeaa@michigan.gov with assessment and secure site questions. Also, feel free to contact our secure site call center at 877-560-8255 8378 and select option 3 from the phone menu. I hope that this has helped you to prepare for the spring 2019 testing season. Thank you.